Welcome to episode 34 of the Unstoppable Podcast. It's Monday on a Tuesday.
My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable Podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life?
Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Unstoppable Podcast. It's Monday on a Tuesday. That's right, in the UK it was a bank holiday weekend, meaning it was a 3-day weekend. And I had the pleasure of spending most of my time this weekend with family and friends and getting some great time in the outdoors and the sunshine, having spent over 50 hours last week working on the pre-launch for my Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program. So I felt like I deserved some time off. The pre-launch isn't done yet, but I needed a break, and it was great to spend some time with family and friends. You know, it's all about balance. I had a really good coaching call on Friday morning, and I talked about the concept of having it all. And I developed this, I think a lot of us develop this, but I developed this belief that you can't have it all. You know, if you think about when you were a kid and you go to the shop and, you know, I don't eat sweets now, but at the time, it's like you can have either those sweets, or you can have this toy or that toy. And all through our life, it's always about making choices of A or B. You know, we're kind of pre-programmed throughout our life of A or B. Study this subject at school or go to this university. You can go to this one or this one. It's always this or that. You know, it might be multiple choices, but it's never about having it all. So I had a very good discussion on Friday about having it all because I'd been working all these hours. I was absolutely tired out, you know, working on my mission, really excited, really pumped to get the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program coming to life, bringing it to the marketplace. But at the same time, you know, life is slipping me by and I'm not taking care of my body at the time. You know, I'm not spending time with Lizzie, my partner. So it was all about how do I have it all? And I'd actually had this belief that it wasn't possible to have it all. So in that moment, I made a decision that it is possible to have it all, and I won't have that taken away from me. And often, you know, what we believe in life is shaped early on in life. So I made a conscious decision in that moment that I can have it all, and everything over the next few weeks is going to be focused on about having it all. Anyway, slightly digressed. Little side topic there, something for you to think about. So on last Monday's episode, I dived into how to increase your productivity with 5 tools that I'm currently using to help me blow my hustle through the roof. Speaking of putting in 50 hours, well, I tracked every moment of it last week and really made it count. This is about avoiding distraction and making sure I'm making the most of the time. The critical thing I've taken away, though, is obviously getting the right balance, meaning that I might now start to reduce the amount of time that I'm spending working each and every day. You know, if you've listened to my episode with Vince Del Monte, he works from, I believe, 9:30 till 4:30 every single day so he can spend more time with his kids and his family. Life is about creating the impact, but it's also about living. So she had 5 tools that enable you to measure your productivity. So do check that out from last week. And on Thursday, you have the opportunity to learn from Reg Lenney, an award-winning health and vitality coach, where he shared his 10 keys to ultimate health. And that was just a mind-blowing episode. And I just felt revitalized just listening to Reg speak. So if you haven't listened to either of those episodes, go back and take a listen. But in today's episode, I'm going to share my top 3 takeaways from my interview with Reg Lenney. This is a guy who spends his time with the A-listers, the Hollywood elite, CEOs of major corporations, TV stars, helping them to get better balance in their life in terms of their health, maximize their vitality, whilst preparing for key roles in their life, whilst trying to live a normal life and quote-unquote normal life. So in today's episode, I will share my top 3 takeaways, and then I'll share in the Unstoppable Insight section how to launch your own high-value signature product or program. This is what my current launch is all about, so I'm going to share the 5 steps that I'm currently taking to do that. So that's coming up soon. But as always, we're going to kick off with this elongated introduction. Going to bring you the quote of the week. So today's quote of the week is from Steve Jobs, none other than, from his Stanford commencement speech, and it is as follows. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. This quote, I listen to these motivational videos every single morning as I'm getting my day set up. And if you were following me on Facebook today, I shared a great video with Jim Carrey called The Meaning. Look it up on YouTube. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's so inspiring. But this Steve Jobs quote keeps coming up over and over and over again. And over the past couple of weeks, as I've been preparing for my launch, my vision, my mission has become clearer and clearer and clearer. And I think the key thing is there, if you haven't found it yet, keep looking. And what I've learned is that the deeper you engage, the more action you take, the clearer you become on what you're here for. I believe we're all here to do something special. I believe we all have special gifts within us. It's about engaging to find what those special gifts are. And there's two types of people in life. There's spectators and there's people participating in the game. But the only way to get in the game is to take action. And the more action you take, the clearer you become. So if you don't feel like you found your thing yet, keep looking. Don't think about it. Get in the game. And I love that quote. Go out there, make it happen. Find your thing, make it happen. This is what this is all about. So let's jump into the debrief. Top 3 lessons from my session with Reg Lenney. Now, we talked about 10 different concepts that you can implement in your life to really take your health and your general standard of living to the next level. He's all about taking people from great to extraordinary. So there was so many lessons I could choose from. But there's 3 things I took away. And the first one was actually not from his 10 keys, in fact, but it was from one of the stories about how his client went from being in a wheelchair to then being able to, by altering some things in her life, to radically improving her health and then being able to travel the world without a wheelchair. He talked about her being on the beach and, sharing those magic moments with him, having helped her heal and helped her find new levels of health. But the thing was with that individual is that we talked about how some people should change. Some people even must change. There's people who know that they must change. Their health is under threat, but they still fail to change. It's only when change becomes the natural choice, because it's what you really, really want, that you get to that level of change. So today's insight number 1 from last week was to get committed, to decide 100% what it is that you want to change in your life. And I really took that on board, because I've always talked about changing your shoulds into your musts, and there's loads of things that we should be doing, but even making it a must isn't enough. It's about making it a natural choice because it's what you really, really want. And as I said, over the past few weeks, I've been getting even more clear on how I want to shape my vision, shape my mission, and how I want to live my life in the process of doing that. So I'm making some big decisions right now about how I can change the direction of where I'm going positively whilst experiencing more every single day. So my question to you is, what is it that you want to make change? What change do you want to make in your life? What can you commit to right now to enhance your life? And the second thing is to make you the 7-figure appointment. What do I mean about this? One of the core concepts in Reg's discussion was about how you have to make you a priority. And how do you do that? And he gave it a great example of when, he was having a conversation with a really high level individual, and just refusing to allow that he had any possible time to incorporate all these things into his life. So Reg gave the story of, what if you had someone approach you and they were going to offer you 7 figures for you to mentor them, for you to impart all your wisdom and your advice, and they'd pay you 7 figures for doing that. $1 million or €1 million or £1 million, whatever currency. And all of a sudden the guy had magically the time to do that. If he had to mentor someone for 7 figures, he would find the time to do it. So the point I took from that is that you have to make you the 7-figure appointment. What value are you putting on yourself? What value am I putting on myself? If you're willing to make time in your diary for someone else, if it's going to make you money, then surely you as the vehicle, you as the person who creates that impact, needs to make time for yourself. You have to be the 7-figure appointment. So what value are you putting on your time? And in order for you to become the best version of you, you need to be making an appointment with yourself every single day to grow both in terms of your health, but also in terms of your mental well-being. So that's something I strongly took away, and I've made some adjustments already this week in terms of slotting in that time. In fact, I've made 3 slots a day for me time, in the morning, right after lunch, and just after dinner as well. And I'm confident it's going to make a radical shift in my state of living.
Finally, number 3, in talking with Reg about how he came about working with these real high-end clients, we talked about getting in the right places and showing up with passion, respect, and showing what you're capable of. All concepts that I really, really admire. Firstly, in terms of any work that you do, I believe the one who shows up with most passion is the one that wins. But also when you're working with high caliber individuals, it is about showing respect. It's not about putting people on a pedestal. That's what they're used to having experienced. But it's about respecting what they're capable of and in the same moment showing what you are capable of and owning your value. Because when you own your value, you show up with passion and you respect other people, the word will spread when you focus on what you can do for others. It's about your results that you can create for them. And when you get in the right places, you show up with that passion, with respect, and you show what you're capable of, then the word will spread and you will get referrals. So those are 3 key takeaways from Reg. I strongly advise you to listen to the episode. There's 10 keys to ultimate health that are really transformational. And if you heed his advice, you'll create. I just, from listening to him, I knew that if I was to spend a day with a guy, I would just come away this rejuvenated human being. But just listening to those 10 tips themselves, there's massive shifts can be made. So do take a listen to the episode. Phenomenal show. So now let's move into the Unstoppable Insight section. I do feel like I'm going 1,000 miles per hour here. It's been a really, really mad couple of weeks working at this kind of pace. So I will take a breath and try and slow down. So today's Unstoppable Insights is the 5 steps to creating your own product online. Now, I've just recorded an insane 90-minute webinar on this entire topic. And to give you some context, I talked about the pre-launch last week and putting in 50 hours. When I actually got to the point of recording this webinar last week, I got so fired up. I was on, if you've ever been mountain biking, living on the edge, or you're skiing. I've never been skiing myself, but I heard it's insane when you're taking all these jumps, all this kind of stuff, that level of excitement. I went into this webinar with that level of excitement. I was pumped. I was running on adrenaline. So for 90 minutes, I gave it my all. I've delivered everything I know on this topic. I really went for it. I came at the end of it and it felt like I'd been in a workout. It felt like I'd been in a boxing ring. I'd given it everything. So I'm not able to give you that today on this episode, as we'll be here for another 90 minutes. But I'm going to share you some of the essence of some of that material I shared with you on that webinar. But I encourage you to check it out. I've just opened up registration for that webinar. So you can go to www.danjgregory.com/webinar. That's danjgregory.com/webinar. The link will be in the show notes. It's open for a limited amount of time. So I strongly advise you to just go and check it out, even if it's just to hear me in flow. I give you everything on that webinar. But I'm going to give you a little flavor today. On the webinar, I shared the 5 steps to launching your own product, which is number 1, creating a compelling offer. How to develop and validate an irresistible signature offer. That could be an online program, an online product, a physical product. It's all about how to develop the offer. Step 2, I share how to attract rockstar clients and fans who are ready to invest in your products and programs. Step 3 is convert. How to create a predictable stream of high-value clients. Step 4 is launch. How to enroll at least 5 high-paying clients within the next 28 days. Now, on the webinar, I talk specifically about high net worth clients, but the principles are very much applicable to products across all spectrums, but it's all focused about enhancing the value. And then number 5 is delivery. How to deliver a truly transformational product or program, and how to deliver your work in just a few hours per week. So those are the 5 things I share on the webinar. On today's session, I'm going to give you a rapid fire tour of the first pillar, which is the offer, how to develop and validate an irresistible signature offer, product, service, or program. So this covers 5 things. Firstly, what are the core outcomes of your product or program? Secondly, how would the program or product be structured and delivered? What's the format of the product? Number 3 is how to price your program or product. Number 4 is who is it for? And number 5 is how to validate your offer before investing in creating the product or program itself. And when I say invest, that could be your time or money in creating that program. So let's start with the outcomes for the program itself. How do you decide on the core outcomes of a program? Well, the biggest mistake many entrepreneurs make is trying to be something to everyone.
I've heard this countless times in my career, back from my corporate days, right through to this moment, this day. If you take only one thing away from this podcast, then let this be it. Unless you are Coca-Cola, you have to know exactly who you are targeting specifically. Even Coca-Cola segment based upon the unique preferences of each individual target group. The point here is that your prospects, your target customers, only care about their needs and overcoming a very specific pain, problem, or challenge, or meeting a very specific want or desire. If you're trying to be something to everyone, how can you possibly, with your messaging, reach those individual people who have those individual needs? It's just not possible with your marketing. It's too generic. Generic does not win in this marketplace. You have to be specific. And many entrepreneurs never, ever figure this out. So this is the most important step in creating any offer that converts, is to identify exactly who your customer avatar is. Now, your customer avatar is one specific client profile who represents the exact segment of your target audience that your product or program will serve. Now, I know I'm going fast. Let me say that again. Your avatar is one specific client profile who represents the exact segment of your target audience that your product or program will serve. So some suggestions for you. How do you figure this out? Now, for many entrepreneurs, if you're just starting out, you can model your target client on yourself. The chances are you've had experiences or you've learned something, you've overcome a specific problem. So if you model your avatar on you and find the shared problem that exists in the marketplace. So to give an example from my own life, if you've been following the podcast for any amount of time, you'll know that when I left my corporate job behind in 2012, I went through a period of complete inertia, procrastination. I allowed my fears to get in the way. I had limiting beliefs. I didn't value my time. I didn't have self-worth. And I went for this long journey to really change the inner game inside of me, to overcome those fears, to develop real solid belief and confidence in myself, to own my value as a human being, as an entrepreneur. So I then can share the steps to overcoming those specific problems. I become my own avatar. And I know from doing research that I'm not the only one out there that's held back by my fears or by my limiting beliefs or not owning my value. So that's how, number one, you can establish a customer avatar, by modeling on your own journey on a shared problem. The second way you can model an avatar is by looking at your most profitable clients or customers who you're currently working with. What are all the characteristics of that profitable group? Who are they? What kind of people are they? What's their demographics? What are they interested in? Getting really intimate into the detail of exactly who they are and where they hang out online. And then finally, model a segment of the market that you would most like to work with, someone who you're not currently work with. Look at all the details. The key is to find the biggest desires, needs, and wants within that specific target group. And not only that, that's the forward pulling motion. You also want to find the most pressing problems, challenges, and pains that are preventing those people meeting those desires, needs, and wants. Because when you solve a pressing pain, problem, or challenge, that is when you're really making things move in terms of marketing and increasing your sales. And the final thing I would recommend also to do to help you in your planning process is to find out who else is already catering to these wants, desires, pains, challenges, and how they're doing it within your marketplace. The reason you want to do this is because you want to be able to identify how you can uniquely serve that target group and do it in a way that is better than anyone else in your marketplace. That's how you stand out. You look at how to win in the marketplace by finding out what your competitors are doing and finding a way to do it better. So there's just a starting point for you. There's tons of other ways you can develop your avatar, but the key is, in order to win, you want to create a complete profile of your target customer. Everything from demographics, who they are, their age, where they live, to their interests, to the blogs they read, where they hang out online, the social channels they use. I have an entire process, it's like a 4-page process where you can extract the exact target client that you want to reach with your product or program. So, to wrap up on this particular section, the proposed outcome for your product should always should always be the solution to a major challenge, problem, or pain that your potential client is currently experiencing. So the key number one is to find the pain, find the problem. And then number two is to find out exactly who it is that's experiencing that. And the next key is to decide how you are going to uniquely solve it in a way that makes you stand out from all the other possible solutions. So the way I would recommend doing this is when we start to look at the structure, the format of your product or program. So I would recommend creating what I call a detailed wireframe of your product or service so that you can piece together your marketing and sales funnel, which will ultimately enable you to validate and sell your idea before actually creating the product, program, or service. Now, if you were creating a physical product, for example, this would be your prototype. It would be the initial version of the product, which you could then market to gauge the interest. In the case of digital products or coaching programs, for example, we're talking about the specific content deliverables. So if, for example, you were a dating coach, you could look at, say, the 8 steps to take someone from who's completely shy and afraid of approaching another man or woman, right through to how they close the deal, so to speak. I'm not going to go into details. I'm not an expert in that particular field, but there's people listening to this who can certainly articulate that better than I can. But it's about then articulating the steps. So with my program, it's about step 1, identifying your core strengths as an entrepreneur, all the way through to launching your product and programs, how to develop systems that effortlessly attract your ideal clients. It's all about creating the framework, the delivery framework of all the things that your coaching product or program will deliver during the period of time that you are working with your clients. So once you've identified the problem you're going to solve, who you're going to solve it for, how are you going to solve it, the next step is to choose how to price your product or program. And as a rule of thumb, the more painful the problem that you're solving for your avatar, the more value that you will provide if you solve that problem. So, put simply, the more value your product or service brings, the more you can charge. Now, this is the second area where entrepreneurs fall down. They undervalue the outcome of their services, whether it's their time, whether it's their products, whether it's their business. Over 80% of entrepreneurs fall down by failing to charge what their appropriate price for their products or programs. So to give an example from my own client base, I've worked with a fitness professional who charges $5,000 for his program, and I've worked with a fitness professional who charges $500 for his program. The end client results in terms of the people that they train are 99.999% identical. So why is one able to charge 10 times the fees of the other? The difference is in how you value your work and how you position yourself in the marketplace. There are high-end clients in every single industry and niche. Think about the front of the plane whenever you fly. The front of the plane is always full. There's always people prepared to pay the higher price. So how can some photographers, for example, charge 5 times, 10 times, even 100 times what others do? Are they 100 times more talented? Do they have 100 times more experience? Do they have 100 times better equipment? No. The reason they can charge more is very simple. And of course, they're good at what they do. That's a prerequisite. But good isn't enough. They've learned to position their services as a premium solution. So charge based upon your outcome. What is it worth to have the outcome for the result that you provide? So thinking about that fitness example, the fitness professional, the one charging £5,000 for his transformation program, has decided that to his client, it's worth £5,000 to create that result in his body. But imagine what it could be worth. You know, if you have not taken care of your body, what is it really worth? It could be priceless. But why is it so many people choose to undervalue their services? And are you working with clients? This is the second point to this. Are you working with the clients who understand and appreciate the value of your work? Most people aren't. And remember that the front of the plane is always full. You just have to choose to find the people in your marketplace who are ready and willing to invest at that level. So who is your program for? Who is it not for? Which segment of the market will appreciate the value of your program? And at this point, having already characterized your target market in terms of their goals, desires, wants, problems, pain points, etc., the key is to hone your customer avatar, that unique group of people, by identifying which segments of your target market who, one, are currently experiencing the problems that you're proposing to solve with your offer, and two, are able and willing to pay the appropriate price for your complete solution or minimum viable offer. And by minimum viable offer, I mean that framework. So when you're creating your initial pre-launch of a program, it's the bare bones of what you can offer, but it creates the result. So this is the sweet spot for your signature program, the place between where you identify the problems that you're going to solve and the people who are willing and able to pay the price for the complete solution to that problem. So when you finalize your customer avatar, you've got a genuine solution that provides 10 times the value of the investment. The question then becomes, how do you take that offer and validate it in the marketplace? And this is problem number 3. I've seen many entrepreneurs at this point jump straight into actually creating the program, spending hours, weeks, days, even months, or even years creating a product or program that they do not even know that they can sell yet. I remember being on a consultation call with a potential client, and she was about to record 30 hours of content for her program, and she had no customers, and she had no idea if anyone would buy it. And to record 30 hours of video is not just about jumping in front of the camera and recording 30 hours. It's planning each hour, recording the videos, producing the videos, getting it hosted, getting the notes to go with it, getting the worksheets done. A 30-hour is a comprehensive video product. And she didn't even know if it could be sold yet. And whilst I admire the gung-ho approach, in the majority of cases, people spend all this time creating a product which they don't know they can sell yet, and in many cases they haven't validated it, and they lose out on all that time. This is akin to being an employee in your own business, where you do all the work up front without getting paid until the launch. By validating your offer, you can actually reverse the process. So not only do you validate your concept, but you get paid up front. So let's slow that down a bit. Not only can you reverse the process so that you validate your concept, but you can also get paid for it. So if you're a fan of Elon Musk, for example, you may have seen recently that Tesla used this particular strategy to pre-sell the Model 3 car. Now, this is one of the most successful launches in history, where the company took the equivalent of between $10 and $15 billion in pre-orders. $10 to $15 billion in pre-orders. These cars haven't even been built yet. This is my point. So they're getting paid to produce, to manufacture, and create the product. Imagine the cost of production if Tesla had built the cars first, and worse still, what if they had been unable to sell the cars having built them? That's an awful lot of cost. But instead, they pre-launched, they pre-sold, they took deposits, and as a result, they self-funded the production process. So pre-selling your offer directly enables you to validate and monetize your offer before scaling up. And as I've already mentioned, this concept is often referred to as creating a minimum viable product. It's releasing a beta version or a pre-release version that enables early adopters to identify and define the features that they do and don't want. So that provides you with valuable feedback on your products and your programs, on what works and what doesn't, what needs to be added, what needs to be taken away, whilst still creating the intended result for the client and getting paid to do so. So these are the 5 steps that I would recommend to creating your offer. But the key is, through all of this, is to be able to create your sales and marketing materials so that you can test your offer with your audience. Now, on the webinar, if you choose to tune in, I then go on to talk about the other 5 pillars. So how you can then, once you've established and finalized your offer, how you then attract people to your product and programs, how you then use systems to convert followers into buyers, and then how you create a remarkable delivery experience. So you're going to want to tune in and listen to those final 4 steps. And by the way, I just gave you a real rocket fuel tour of the first step as well. I go into real detail on the webinar. So to tune in, to find out the full details, go to www.danjgregory.com/webinars. I may or may not go at 100 miles an hour on that webinar. There are times when I slow down. I do get carried away. I get very excited. I'm passionate about this stuff. I'm passionate about helping people thrive with their business, and hopefully that comes through. So we're going to move into the final part of the show. This week's challenge is to get committed. I want you to decide 100% what you want to change in your life. Draw the line and commit 100% to making the change. And to help you with this change, once you've made your decision about what it is you want to change in your life or your business, to help you, coming up this week on Thursday on the Unstoppable podcast, we finally have our first ever female guest coming on the show. And she is a phenomenal human being. I'm delighted to be bringing on Thursday Marcy Locke. Marcy Locke is known as the ultimate life catalyst, and she works with global influencers, game-changing leaders, and high-performing entrepreneurs to help them to live an epic life in every single area. Think about that concept I spoke about at the beginning about having it all. That is where that quote was inspired from for my interview of Marcy, who I'm delighted to be bringing with you this Thursday. Marcy's appeared on TV around the world. She's spoken on international stages, and she's touched and transformed thousands of lives through her Average to Awesomeness programs, her mind-body breakthrough experience, and all kinds of different retreats and events such as the Goddess Revolution Experience, the Badass Breakthrough Catalyst Adventure Series, and all of her fantastic programs to create these magnificent life-changing results for the people who work with her. So, on Thursday, we take an intense and deep dive into how you can create massive change in your life. Now, I don't say this lightly, but this interview alone had a profound impact upon me. You know, I was there as the interviewer, but I couldn't help in this situation to be profoundly impacted by her words and her story and the concepts that she shared. It was one where I actually had to take time out after the interview and really take time to absorb the interview. So trust me, put this one in your schedule, take time out so you can listen to absolutely every single word. So Marcy Locke is coming up this Thursday. I cannot wait to bring you that episode. She's really going to help you make the changes you want in your life. So number one, your challenge for this week is to decide 100% what you want to change in your life. Make the commitment this Thursday. You're going to learn how to do it. In the meantime, register for the webinar over at www.danjgregory.com/webinar. If you're interested in launching your own online products or programs or coaching programs, you're going to want to be on that webinar. I go deep. I share everything, the full 5 steps to launching your program in detail. So if that's for you, go to www.danjgregory.com/webinar. And if you've enjoyed this webinar, if you've enjoyed this episode, or you think that you know someone that would be benefiting from the show or the webinar, please do share on social media. I really do appreciate your support. And I want to thank you for listening. You know, many of you have already started your week. For those in the UK, it's the first day of the week. Have an awesome week. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Get it in the schedule. Tune in. It's time to unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.